On behalf of FireSafe India Foundation, I am pleased to welcome you all participants to this webinar on passive fire protection in commercial buildings and healthcare. This is sponsored jointly by BIS and FSIF. We are glad we have a distinguished group of panelists here to share their insights and critical aspects of passive fire protection. It has an essential role in safeguarding healthcare and commercial buildings. All the panelists are veterans of the fire industry and they have excellent domain knowledge combined with expertise and exposure. We are confident it will be a very informative session. To begin, I would like to play our corporate video. Let's hear it.
Time is ticking. Have you ever thought how safe your home or building is? Have you seen a fire extinguisher being used? Have you ever attended a fire drill? Do you even know if your building has a valid no objection certificate? Are you aware of the local fire laws? And did you know that every year around 25,000 people die in India due to fire incidents? It means that on an average around 60 people die every day in fire accidents. Did you know that every fifth fire death in the world occurs in India? Do you know that in India there are around 680 fire emergency calls every day? Do you know that most of the fire accidents are caused due to ignorance? It is not surprising you didn't, because we tend to think that fire incidents take place far from where we are till one day, without any warning, we just could be in the midst of grave danger. It is for this reason that we need to sensitize and create awareness, which can be achieved only through education and social activism. And the time for that is now. Need we say that your participation is of paramount importance? Well, we guess not. So what can we do to make ourselves and our country safe? Welcome to the FireSafe India Foundation, an organization that has been founded and is being nurtured by some of the best minds from the fire industry. These brilliant visionaries have taken up the Herculean task of making not just you and your families safe, but in the process transform our country to be a fire-safe nation. The FireSafe India Foundation is a not-for-profit body built on the pillars of wisdom, compassion, and empathy, driven by passion for creating a safe nation that we all so lovingly call Bharat. Our vision is to draw strength from our learnings, develop programs to cater to the masses, imbibe in them a sense of awareness, commit them to learn, share and care for their fellow citizens through the channels of brotherhood that we create to transform our country into a fire-safe nation. And our mission, ladies and gentlemen, is to safeguard and improve the quality of life of our citizens through fire prevention and protection. Sensitize authorities and our fellow citizens about the risks of fire by adopting various channels of communication and social media. Advocate compliance of fire safety and strictly adopt building codes for fire-safe occupancy of public and private premises through social activism. Create mass awareness through education. Award and reward acts of courage and rescue by firefighters and general public during fire incidents. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the FireSafe India Foundation, a first-of-its-kind organization created for the citizens to empower all to be fire-safe. A better future can be created if all of us join together to make a change. Inviting you to become a member and be a part of this organization. It is our pleasure to introduce to you our chairman and the advisory board of some of the best names in the country. These names in themselves are a stamp of recognition and prelude to the success the Fire Safe India Foundation will receive. Our chairman is Mr. M.V. Deshmukh, former fire advisor and director of Maharashtra Fire Services and president, National Association of Fire Officers. And this, ladies and gentlemen, comprises of the advisory board of the Fire Safe India Foundation. For more information and also to sign up for a Fire Safe Bharat, do log on to www.firesafeindia.org. Change begins with you. Change begins with us. In the words of the father of the nation, let's be the change we want to see.
Having seen the lovely video, I now invite Shri M.V. Deshmukh Sir, Chairman, Fire Safe India Foundation, and ex-director and fire advisor to the government of Maharashtra, to give us an overview about passive fire systems, the present scenario, and how it will save lives. Sir, let's have your bio.
Sir, we have to unmute.
Good morning, everyone. And at outset, I welcome the enthusiastic participants, those who have shown interest in the passive fire protection as a subject. And I'm further grateful to the galaxy of the panelists for the day, the speakers for the day, and a little plus grateful to Mr. Sanjay Pant for his valuable time, because he has devoted his major part of life in standards and codes, and very open-minded person. And as most of the audience, they know me, I am not so introvert and the soft-spoken person, but Mr. Sanjay Pant has been always kind to hear to the ideas and views, and has been open to cooperate in the mission Fire Safe India. And he's with us today. So I welcome everyone. See, putting in 4 decades of the life in the fire services, the one thing I realized of late, I mean, we always realized, but of late, initially we were giving a lot of emphasis on sprinklers, detections, pre-action sprinklers, gas separation, many other issues, fire doors, sealants, all those issues. But the one issue which has been haunting and last 4 or 5 years, first I did my own homework. I visited a number of sites, the construction sites in Bangalore, in Hyderabad, in Chennai, and also some part of it Maharashtra also. Well, Maharashtra, my constraint is, as I worked as a regulator for a long tenure, if I go on the site, the news goes, why is here? So there is a positive message also and little worry also in the people. So I have gone to the other states particularly. And what we noticed that the passive fire protection is a job left to the civil contractors. And unfortunately, either the civil contractors or the fire professionals, they are not so acquainted or so well versed with the subject. And my honest confession for the day, even many of the fire officers, including me, if we have to go on site and carry out the inspection of the passive fire protection, once the building is ready, it is very, very difficult. Because whether it is a mortar or whether it is a passive fire protection material with some sealant and some adhesives added into it, what it is, we really cannot make out. So how to monitor this whole process during the construction process? So there's a dire need that we means I was earlier, but we as a fire officers, fire professionals, those are working on the regulatory side, need a very intense training and awareness. And for that also, we need some standard that this is a training qualification that the person has to have. And we have started a bit. Maybe we may approach to BIS and we see that if we can bring into the best practices part of the BIS course. The second problem which I could see that all the systems are intact, but the fire spreads like a wild and it travels from the floors below to the upper floors. And compartmentation is a huge challenge. In the compartmentation also, first the building is done, even some MNCs and all, they are very insistent about their insurance regulation and all is there. So they are very insistent about that they should have the proper building. But after that, we do alterations. We allow the cables to run through the partition walls. Even the doors are not full assembly is not installed the way it should have been installed. It is installed like any other ordinary door. That it could be a fire door, it could be ISI mark, but the installation part of it, it is always lacking. So these issues, how to address those, and therefore during COVID time only we had a first passive fire protection webinar, and in between the Masse Nuremberg, they held a big show in Bombay where we were actively participating, including Mr. Warik and other colleagues of mine. So passive fire protection is an area which requires a little more trust. I am also proud, privileged to tell the audience and the participants that today, at least in Maharashtra, no building is taken for granted, and every building has a proper basic fire protection like detection system, sprinkler system, many other things. So that is being life safety measures, they are also taken care of. But a passive fire area is little a missing link between the all. And we are trying to get in touch with many civil contractors and their employees. And they need to be more educated onto this. And our side, as a regulator, there is a dire need to educate people, understand and carry out the thorough inspections during the process of the building. So what BIS is also striving to have the sustainable living or the sustainable building envelopes. At least let us start with a tenable, sustainable will also happen. So with that intention, we are meeting today. And around January or so, after I get the confirmation of the people, those I am looking at, their dates confirmation, we are going to hold one seminar on the passive fire protection will be one part of it, but the one seminar on the data who's talking behind. So on the data center itself, we are holding one seminar. So we'll revert to the audience, those are interested, they can join. It will be a physical seminar and not the webinar. So with this, I will just take a pause here, and I will request Mr. Malu to invite our keynote speaker and introduce him in brief. Thank you.
Mr. Malu,
Malu, you're on mute.
Sorry, my bad. I invite Sri Sanjay Pant sir, who is the Deputy Director General at BIS Headquarters, New Delhi. He has over 35 years of experience as a scientific officer. He has authored numerous papers and delivered lectures. He has also been awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Fire and Security Association. He is a distinguished alumnus from MNIT Jaipur. Please, Sri Sanjay Pant sir, give us your keynote address.
Thank you, Manuji. First of all, Shri M.V. Deshmukh ji, Chairman of Fire Safe India Foundation, Shri Santosh Warik ji, Director Maharashtra Fire Services, Kiran Hatyal ji, Assistant Director Maharashtra Fire Service, Shri Abhishek Chavda ji, Director FCIA, my colleague Arun Kumar, Shri Malu, all the more than 200 participants who have joined this webinar so far, and the number is increasing. First of all, a warm welcome from Bureau of Indian Standards and Fire Safe India Foundation, the two organizations who have joined hand today to organize this webinar on the role of passive fire protection in commercial buildings and healthcare. As you all know, the center of attention in terms of building conceptualization, planning, design, execution, operation, maintenance, and continued utilization of the building facilities is the National Building Code of India. Being from Bureau of Indian Standards, I am very proud to mention that this role has been taken up by BIS to provide the basic framework of guidelines and codes of practices and the provisions for fire safe building materials by BIS in terms of the entire gamut of building conceptualization, planning, design, construction, operation, maintenance, and even building performance tracking. And I would say that in the process, BIS has formulated more than 22,000 Indian standards and some of the special publications like National Building Code of India, which is a special publication SP7. And these standards that BIS has formulated encompass various aspects like the product standards. Out of 22,000 standards, around 44% standards pertain to products, and another similar number is on codes of practices and test methodologies. These standards provide the basic framework of the quality ecosystem that we should have in the country. Out of these, I can say around 2,500 standards directly pertain to built environment. So we have formulated Indian standards for various kinds of building materials. That is the various types of cements, concrete, aggregate, steel enforcement, plumbing products, gypsum-based products, lime-based products, flooring material, walling material, and roofing material, and the various kind of the facilities and the fire, including the methodology for testing of against these products. So the test methodologies to ensure conformity of quality of these materials, as well as the codes of practices, how various manufacturing is to be done, laying is to be done, erection is to be done, and then even demolition of the building has to be done safely. A very important point has been raised by Mr. Deshmukh in terms of giving emphasis on fire safety through passive, that is through constructional means, through planning and conceptualization. And he has also mentioned a very important aspect is can we have sustainability without safety? And therefore, I personally have also developed a sustainability model, and the National Building Code in its part 11 is approach to sustainability. These highly sustainability actually refers to the entire gamut. When we plan the built environment, we start with the development of a project. And the project, first of all, there is a land parcel which is available. When we ensure that we need to ensure that the existing flora and fauna should remain intact, existing lakes, the city, the hydrological system, the drainage pattern should not be disturbed. Similarly, one of the important aspects, as Mr. Deshmukh has pointed out, sustainability, safety is one of the most important aspect of sustainability. If a building is not safe, it is not durable, it is not safe against structural safety or fire safety or public safety or safety by the occupants in any way, including in terms of indoor air quality, health and hygiene, it doesn't serve the purpose of sustainability. Coming pointedly to the provisions of the National Building Code, as I say, the National Building Code was formulated in the year 1970 and was subsequently revised at the instance of Planning Commission, the then Planning Commission, now called Niti Aayog, and it was then revised in 1983. That was the first revision. Thereafter, in 97, an amendment was brought out to Part 4. The Part 4 of NBC is fire and life safety, and this was earlier called as fire protection. This fire protection Part 4 was revised as amendment number 3 to NBC 1983. That is the journey. And after that, we had brought out NBC 2005 and finally NBC 2016. To NBC 2016 also, there are amendments, one amendment which pertains to fire safety aspects, that is Part 4. So this is the journey of what? Coming to the entire gamut of in the year 2005, when I remember, while discussing the various provisions in NBC 1983 and amendment thereto in 97, the various provisions were intermingled in the entire NBC. In 2005 version, we decided to reclassify the entire provisions of National Building Code Part 4, fire and life safety. First of all, in place of fire protection, we start calling it fire and life safety. That is fire safety and life safety on account of the instances of fire. That's number one. Secondly, we trifurcated the entire provision into fire prevention, life safety, and fire protection. And the fire prevention aspects, first of all, we decided to review and have a relook at the building classification. As you know, the entire buildings have been classified into 9 groups of building. Group A, residential; B, educational; C, institutional; D, assembly; E, business; F, mercantile; G, industrial; H, hazardous; and J, storage. And these have been further subclassified. And out of these, the 2 particular occupancies of healthcare and commercial are the focus of attention today, for ensuring, for seeing that how best passive fire protection system can be can be taken cognizance of in ensuring to large extent the fire safety requirements. So the health care buildings that we are talking today is part of the institutional building, and commercial building is part of the group F, mercantile building. And as I mentioned, the NBC now in 2005 version and as well as in 2016 version now deals, it has got a scope which classifies as to which types of building and which extent of spread of building in terms of height and horizontal spread and basements even attract the provisions of NBC Part 4. That is because NBC is currently under revision. So I take this opportunity also, while making a mention of some of these concepts, to seek your intervention as to how NBC should now be looked at in terms of the newer kind of buildings, data center, and complex type of structures which are coming in the country. So as I mentioned, clause 1 deals with the scope where all these which kind of building or complexities of buildings or types of buildings should attract the provisions of NBC Part 4, and what should happen to all other buildings which are said to be less vulnerable or non-vulnerable, because some kind of vulnerability is there on all buildings, even the smallest ones. So how to deal with that? That will remain the question. Clause 2 then deal with various kinds of terminology. In this particular revision of NBC that we have taken up, we will have to find out more terms, because the education or the language of the building professionals or fire professionals is the kind of terminology that we use and the way we understand this terminology. So we intend to introduce more terms, better clarity in the terminology and their explanation, and more sketches and illustrations. I would like this NBC, which is currently under revision, to be a more educative material apart from the regulatory material, because we want this profession to thrive, because we have seen the result of non-implementation of provisions of NBC. If we simply say in legalistic terms various provisions in NBC and expect these to be scrupulously implemented, I think we'll be wrong. So it needs. I have with more than 35 years of my experience in BIS, what I have understood that the codes of practices, the special publication, the building code, these need to be at the same time a little educative material also. Either we should publish a separate commentary on clause-wise commentary, or the same code should be more explicit in terms of to avoid ambiguity, to avoid any kind of misinterpretation or dual interpretation. So this is what we are going to do this time further beyond what we have already done. That is the clause on terminology. Clause 3, as I mentioned, the larger perspective was trifurcated. So the first clause 3 is fire prevention. What Mr. Deshmukh has said, that the cost implication today, a lot of communications come to us that if you try to make buildings fire safe as per NBC, the cost gets substantially escalated, and this is the worry. And so the professionals, some of the consultants, maybe even the building owner, they try to find way out how they can bypass the provisions of NBC. So is it possible to not escalate the cost? And I understand from what Mr. Deshmukh has mentioned today that this is very much doable, rather than insisting on fire fighting and fire protection and portable and first aid and fixed firefighting installation. If we start concentrating on passive fire protection systems more, our load on firefighting installations would decrease. The buildings will become inherently safe by its design itself, and therefore this is a very important webinar that we are debating today, how to address the building itself conceptually, and in its planning and design itself is rendered safe. It has adequate number of exits, the fire retardants of the fire retardant rating of the built facility itself, the finishes itself is taken care of, rather than first installing highly vulnerable finishes and then adding to a large load of fire protection systems over it. So that is there. And in fire protection, we have 4 types, apart from classifying the building into 9 groups and their sub-classification into various groups. We have what we have really done is we have classified the buildings from constructional point of view, fire retardant rating point of view, into type 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Type 1 being the highest fire retardant rated building, which by the combination of various components, whether it is flooring or roof slab or walls or columns and beams and structural components, their individual rating set results in classifying as to whether it is type 1 in combination, type 2 or type 3, type 4. Type 1 being the most fire retarded rated or more fire safe installations. So this is one thing, a part of the passive. We should not make it vulnerable, inherently vulnerable. So what can be done by using inherently fire retardant rated materials, which fire safe material? For example, traditional construction materials used to be like that. And if we have to use certain kind of finishes or certain kind of material, how to make them fire retardant by using certain applications over it. So that is the first part of it. And we need a lot of data. Actually, a lot of new materials are coming every day. So can we have more data into this? A lot of laboratory. I will request Mr. Abhishek Chabra ji. There is a lot of testing exposure and experience. So can we have more data? Can we have data with certain confidence where we can guide? And another area is the either the structural material as well as finishing material. So this is briefly the fire prevention aspect. Then coming to life safety, which is another aspect of passive fire protection, is again divided in the code into exit access, exit and exit discharge. So exit access, that is the area where we actually work and perform, the functional area from where we go to exit. So access to exit is called exit access. In the exit access, we need to perform the activities which have to be done, whether it is a school or college or hospital. So we cannot tamper with the basic functional requirement. It may require certain kind of materials or chemicals or commercial activity which are inherently fire vulnerable. But then if exit access, if it facilitates the design in a fashion that we have the right exit access, timely evacuation and guidance for evacuation. So this is another exit access. When we come to exit, then it is to our fire rated, including various fire doors. So we have revised our standard 3614 on fire doors, and it is already gone into certification. And as well, I was talking on product standard, is one of the product standards, and it is BIS certified. Doors are now available. Some 6 or 7 manufacturers have already got BIS certification. Now you can have, you can demand BIS certified fire doors and for installation in the respective premises. So this is another kind of thing. So I will say demand more and more BIS certified products, and any complaints can be then referred to BIS for its redressal. And that is exit. And when we come from exit, which is primarily staircase, and then we, of course, we have firefighting shaft, which is called also fire tower, and then we go to exit discharge. So the entire combination of the fire prevention and life safety, including exit access, exit and exit discharge, should be well conceptualized, planned, and designed. As rightly pointed out by Mr. Deshmukh, we cannot do much after the entire premises has been erected, and therefore this dissemination of knowledge and conceptualization, training of architects and engineers, associating fire professionals in the process, so that they at the time of planning itself it is vetted, and the time of design also it is vetted, and before execution, final execution, it is taken care of. So our objective of passive fire protection can be duly met. And I would at this stage only, and then I will, before concluding, I would say the next clauses which we are not concentrating now is after clause 3 on fire prevention, 4 on life safety, and 5 is on fire protection or firefighting, where we have that famous table 7 on fire portable for first aid and firefighting installation, with a lot of fight on water demand and all those things there. So that is not a subject of discussion today, so I'll not broach that topic today. Then comes the clause 6 on additional occupancy wise requirement for fire prevention, for life safety, and fire protection. So one, for both commercial buildings as well as healthcare building, one should go through for passive fire protection the clause 3, clause 4, as well as clause 6 for the institutional building, for healthcare building, on for mercantile building, for commercial building. So that is my thing. And there are a series of annexures in the code. After we exhaust clause 1 to 6, as I explained, the entire framework of the part 4 fire and life safety of NBC 2016, we have special annexures where we deal with high-rise buildings, atrium, commercial kitchen, and multi-level car parking, as well as metroways and metro stations. And so, as the case may be, even those have to be read along with the provision of this. This is what NBC. But at the end, while once again congratulating the Fire Safe India Foundation led by Shri M.V. Deshmukh ji and Warik Saab and Hatyal ji, and that you have all joined hands with BIS in organizing this very important webinar. Already 217 participants have joined this event. It will be possible to send across the message, and I would request that these can be organized from time to time on different type of occupancy type. That's number 2. And finally, I say would like to mention that NBC is again under revision. We intend to bring out NBC 2025 or 26, whichever is possible. And currently, preliminary draft are under preparation, are being issued. Shortly, we would also be issuing the wide circulation draft for public comments. And all of you should keep on looking at BIS website for the various documents being launched. We can also mail all these documents to you. We have a specialized panel under National Building Code. There are 22 panels. National Building Code is a 2,250-page document encompassing 13 chapters, part 0 and part 1 to 12. And there are subsections thereunder in each many of the chapters. So 33 chapters in all. And one of the 33 chapters is part 4, Fire and Life Safety. There is a dedicated panel and 3 working groups who are revising this day in, day out. And we hope to present to the nation a very comprehensive and mature code with a lot of illustrations detailing out these. I think we will be able to give justice to passive fire protection further in this particular revision. Get associated with BIS, write to BIS with your suggestion, and we would be very happy to take into account your suggestion. Once again, thank you so much for inviting me to this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Pansab. It was a very... How did this come now? It was a very informative and educative session. What you just said, you're an encyclopedia of knowledge, and we are really proud and privileged to have you on this panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Malaji. Thank you.
I would like now to introduce Shri Kiran Atyal. Mr. Kiran Atyal is the Assistant Director.
Mr. Malu, you are showing the PPT of Mr. Warik and then you're talking about Kiran.
No, here it is.
Yeah. No. Thank you.
Sorry, I think...
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Kiran Atyal is a veteran of 28 years of service. He is the Assistant Director, Maharashtra Fire Service. He has trained more than 300 fire officers, and he's helping strengthen fire service across Maharashtra. He's helping in implementation of Fire Acts and rules. He has created fire awareness, and he continues to train the new firefighters and fire officers. Welcome you, Shri Kiran Atyal, sir. Please.
Yeah, good afternoon all. Without taking much of the time, sir, I'll directly go to my presentation. Can this close so that I can share my presentation, please?
Yes.
Screen is... I'm not able to share, Maluji.
Yeah, just 1 minute. Sorry. Yeah, please.
Wow.
There.
Yeah, hope my screen is visible now.
Yes.
Yeah, more emphasis till date has been put on the active fire system. And it was the first time in 1983 where the fire safety chapter was introduced in NBC as a part 4, and more than 30 plus years have gone by. Advancement progression has been done on the active part, active systems. But right now it is the right time where we need to focus on a passive fire systems also. Passive fire protection, as you see, is a vital component of any fire safety strategy as it builds into the structure of a building by safeguarding precious human life and national property by limiting the direct impact damages to the building and the content. The main focus of the passive system over here is to ensure that no heat, no fire or smoke is propagated from one level to another horizontally or vertically. Passive fire protection is built into structure to provide stability into walls and floors to separate the building areas into a manageable risk, what we call as a compartmentations. These areas are designed to restrict the growth and the spread of fire, which allows occupants to escape through this particular endangered area and also helps the firefighting team to carry out the necessary firefighting and the rescue operations. Such protection is either provided by the material from which the building is constructed or is added to the building to enhance its fire resistance. And some of the component already we know like fire doors, smoke curtains, barrier, compartmentation, HVAC system, pressurization, some sealant. These and the facades also right now has come into the pictures. These are the some component which we talk about the passive fire systems and we need to understand. But before that, we need to understand what exactly we are talking about resisting material. Uh, while we see the definition of the what is called as a fire resistance, it is a component which operates in one or three ways. Either it resists structural collapse, that what we call as the stability, or it resists the passage of smokes and hot gases, helping for the integration of that particular structure. And it also tries to resist heat by way of conduction, what we call as a insulation. To put it in a pictorial diagram, this is what we try to understand. What we talk about the stability or the integrity or the insulation part of the resistance of the material. So a structural floor in any high-rise building will require above all these three characteristics. A non-load bearing compartment wall will have to provide insulation as well as the integrity. A structural steel beam or a column will have to provide the structural stability for that particular occupancies. Right now, because we are talking about the provisions of the passive systems, that is what I'm going to highlight. The provision that's are given in the NBC, which has these numbers of things what you are seeing on the screen. That is the what types of construction you have. The table one, which talks about the different material, the openings, the surface, interior finishes, exits, pressurization, compartmentation, fire stops, smoke management, air conditioning system, and the facades. So first we'll talk about the types of construction. What you can see in the bracket, what I've written as 3.3, this particular talks about the clause which is given in the NBC part 4. So wherever you can see my bracket with this particular figure, you can note down. This is the clause I'm talking about, which is given from the NBC. When we talk about a type of construction, the design of any building and the type of material that is used in construction are the important factors in making the building resistant to a complete burnout and in preventing the rapid spread of fire, smoke or fumes, or which may otherwise contribute to the loss of lives and property. The fire resistance of the material which is given, it is basically speaks upon the fire load, the content of the hazard materials when burned in a particular built up area, that what we call as a fire load. And this is also very well, the fire load of each particular material is given in the annexure A again of the part 4. And for the purpose of the codes, the types of construction according to fire resistance, which is defined as type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, which talks about the different material having a particular specific fire resistance is also given in the annexure C of the part 4. This is just an example what I'm trying to show you from C 3.3 table, which talks about the table 1, which is given the part 4. For the exterior wall, what should be the separations and what kind of rating should be given for the type 1, type 2, type 3 or type 4 of building. So different things you will find, mostly 18 tables will be given over here for all different materials used in this building constructions. Again, we'll talk about the opening, because whenever we are talking about a building and the compartmentation, definitely some openings are required to pass the services. So again, you see this clause 3.4.5.1, which talks about while designing opening on a fire resistant walls and floors, a particular attention we need to pay so that which will limit the fire spread through this opening and maintain the fire rating of the structural members. For type 1 to 3 construction, a doorway which has been given in any fire resistant wall shall be limited that the area does not exceed more than 5.6 meters square, having maximum height or width which shall not be more than 2.75 meter. And every wall opening wherever this has been given shall not have a fire rating less than 2 hours. The openings in the floors shall be protected by vertical enclosures, and wherever the cuts are given below such opening, and all these enclosures shall have a fire resistance not less than 120 minutes in all such openings. Even we get an opening for the escalators in clause 3452. For escalators opening, wherever the chances are that smoke can be traveled from one portion to another, you have to have a certain kind of a protection, like in this escalator you can see, which is marked in red. Certain sprinklers have to be given on all sides of this cut opening, so that in case of uh, fire, these sprinklers can be operated and this can prevent the smoke from the lower compartment or the lower floor to travel to the uh, other floor through the openings of the escalators. Surface interior finish also plays a very vital part, because though we are trying to see the passive protections for the hospitality, healthcare occupancy or the hospitality building, but more often whatever the passive arrangement that has been given uh, in the NBC part 4, it is generic and it can be applicable to all buildings. So therefore, whatever the combustible surface finishes that are being used, whether it is in hospital or it is in hotels, this has to be proper done, or to ensure that there is a minimum spread of flame on wall, facade of the building or on the ceiling surfaces. The finishing material used for various surfaces and the decor, it should be such that it's done generate less toxic foams or the smokes. So the various types of wall surfaces fire is determined, and how this particular, in case of fire, how that can be spread. Like Pansar in his opening address, he says, we are talking about a type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4 type of a construction, or we have this class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4 surfaces of types of flame spread area, where class 1 is surface having a very low flame spread against the class 4, which have a very rapid flame spread. To give in a nutshell, when we talk about a class 1, class 2 or a class 3 building, which has a very low spread, and such kinds of a material we can use in any situation. But if you see a class 2 kind of a material which will be used, it is said we can be used in any situation, except this cannot be used on a wall facades of the building or staircase or corridor. To give an example, let's say for example, I am having an assembly kind of a building and I have these corridor passages. So when you see this theater kind of a thing, we can have these wall passages decorated with huge canvases with oil paints and all, but this can be an endanger to humans' lives, and therefore it says you would have to restrict all these kinds of a material in this particular staircase or a passages or on a corridor. And when you have a class 3 material, this can be used only in a living rooms or a bedrooms, but not, this cannot be applicable to the roofs or the corridors or the facades of the building. Fire stopping, because we are talking about the openings which has to be done to pass the services through levels. This cannot be stopped, but once we do that, some care protection that needs to be seen, where we can stop the fire or the hot gases from passing from this one compartment to another horizontally or vertically. The shaft which are across the floor to carry services through floor levels can result in fire and smoke spread to other floors. These shafts shall be protected at every floor and wall penetration with fire-tested fire stopping system. Any opening within the shaft wall or floors through which pass electrical conduits should also be sealed to have a fire resistance of not less than 1 hour. Opening in walls or floors which are provided for the passages of all building services like cable, electrical wiring, telephone cables shall be protected with a fire resistance of not less than 2 hours. Fire-rated barriers, fire stopping system will be the required solution, and this shall be installed such that the normal functioning of the service which are penetrating in the compartment shall not be affected. So I am passing my electrical cable, but I do such things that will render this particular service cannot be permissible. So you have to have both the services as well as the fire sealant or whatever you are using it. That's give the protection to this particular shafts and all. So in the picture, you can see what I'm talking about. I am having this electrical ducts or the conduits which are passing from lower level to upper level. And in this, I can have a fire sealant, fire stopping material, which will restrict if any fires are there, that will restrict. These are the fire resistance material which can restrict the fire of the heat to pass from the lower level to the upper level. Number of exits, though I don't want it to go very brief into this, just to give you an idea, and everybody knows that any building which is 15 meter above or having floor plate more than 500 square meter needs to have a minimum 2 staircases, and this shall be of enclosed type. Why I'm trying to take this? Because we need to understand where this particular staircase needs to be placed and how this needs to be protected by way of fire door. So whatever the corridor passages are there, we can have a pressurized system. So whenever people when come from the fired area to the non-fired area, they should be safe for the occupant as well as for the fire personnel staff. In 2016, NBC fire tower concept that has come, a firefighting shaft, which talks about a staircase and a lift in a one particular duct, which is totally enclosed and totally protected. So there you have a fire door which leads to the fire lobby, as well as we have a fire door which leads to the staircase. So this is total encompassed staircase is there, which will definitely prevent the smoke to enter in this particular shaft, and this will be the most useful for the fire personnel when they want to reach to the upper levels and do their firefighting operation or the rescue purposes. So the provision of fire tower, what is given, basically definition is given in the initially, but for that you will have to see the annexure annexure E, which talks about for all the buildings which are 15 meter and above, one firefighting shall be planned for each residential, educational building block, and for each compartment of institutional, assembly, business, and mercantile occupancy. For which I would like to highlight, if I am having an hospital for a larger area, let's say I'm talking about a 6,000 square meter kind of an area, what we received for the approvals. We need to understand it has to be done a compartmentation of 18,000 square meter. There has to be one compartment, and when you make a one compartment, one fire tower should be in each compartment. So when I'm talking about 6,000 square meter area, that I will be dividing into 4 compartment, and each compartment will be having one fire tower. Same goes for the assembly and the mercantile building, where the built up area for compartmentation is 2,000 square meter, and for commercial offices it is 3,000 square meters. This is also one thing where we are talking about the external staircases, where one often misses this chance. We have these staircases on one side where the openings are given, and when the openings are given on the staircases for the light and ventilation, at least 3 meter blank wall should be there, so that in case of fire in any building, the smokes and heat should not come into this particular staircases. Or when we have this opening in this particular wall of the apartment, then the wall which is adjacent to the staircase shall be the dead wall, which will not allow the heat and the smoke to go into this staircase well. I think this is the point which also most of us try to miss while giving the approvals. Talking about the corridor passages, two-way exit should be there, so a person easily can be traveled. If there is one part of the portion of the building is affected by heat, fire, and smoke, then he should be able to get another escape route where he can travel. And when we are talking about the healthcare in an additional requirement which is given for the hospital building in the section 6 of the part 4, here the compartmentation is done in such a way so you can see if anything goes wrong in fire compartment A, we can evacuate from fire compartment B. BIS, Arun sir and everybody is there, sir. I will request you, we will have to do correction for this particular drawing. Now what exit we have shown over here, we'll have to show with the fire tower. So the concept will be also very much clear, the how fire tower should be there for each compartment, sir. Then the pressurization also plays a very vital role for to ensure that the whatever if there is a fire and anything on the floor below, because of the pressurization, the smoke will not come into the staircase, and wherever the ventilation points are given, this can be routed through that. This is the table 6, which is given in the part 4, where the requirement of the pressurize is given for the internal staircase or the internal staircase on the external wall, and for the lift lobby for the building which are less than 15 meter in height, 15 to 30 meter height, and more than 30 meter in height. Smoke extraction systems definitely plays a very important part over here. Basically, I will talk about the huge basement that's are right now coming up. So we need to have not only the one basement in Mumbai city, we have something basement, 2 basement, 3 basement, and more than 3 basements are coming. So these particular smoke extraction systems should be such a vital things that whatever the smoke that has been generated due to any things. Now we are talking about vehicles which are coming with lithium ion batteries, and presently we have a situation, sir, where we should charge all these batteries, and we have these basements going 1, 2, 3 downs, and definitely all these EV batteries, cars will all comes. We need to have a very good smoke extraction systems for the basements over here. We are talking about when we are talking about the smoke extraction system, we need to understand whatever the material that are used in for this particular smoke attraction system, this also needs to be a fire retardant kind of a thing, because we are talking about one side where the compartment we have a 2 hours compartment, but when we don't have a equipment which will handle this particular kind of a heat, so at least to able to withstand temperature of hot smoke in the range of 150 degrees centigrade, and to ensure the ventilation and smoke extract through these duct systems are not hampered. In with that way, all these particular equipment we will have to design. So talking about the smoke venting systems from any floors as well as from the basement area, everything that has to be done. And what we see on these pictures, that the huge jet fan ventilation systems are coming, which have this kind of a relay system where the smoke is extracted from point A to point B and point B to C, and so it goes on. The only concern what I see over here is if any of these particular relay systems fan goes inoperative, then I think there will be a problem to extract the smoke. So a particular attention will also have to be put on this particular basement ventilation system, where you have these jet fan systems in relay systems. Compartmentations, I will not take much more of that time, because we have been knowing what is the use of this particular compartmentation and how that has to be done. So 4.5 clause of the part 4 talks about the compartmentation, and for what area, what should be the compartmentation size is been given over here, where we have the mercantile assembly building 2000 and the business building 3000 square meter. For hospital it is given 1800, and what we see for all other buildings 750. But now we have more huge warehouses coming. I think for warehouses, Fire Safe India Foundation can have one more session like this, where we have a healthcare passive fire system. We should also talk about passive system for these huge warehouses presently coming, which having floor plate more than 10,000 or even in a lakh square meter area, these are coming up. And these are the huge challenges, especially when we are talking about passive firefighting systems. So fire compartmentation, we know it will, if it has to be created, it depends upon the use or occupancy of the building, the fire load which is present in the building, the height of the building, and the availability of the sprinkler systems. Importance of fire compartmentation, I will not go through the details. Everybody knows that its main function is to contain the fire in that one particular area, contain the heat and smoke in that one particular area, so it does not transfer from one portion to the another portion, and it maintains the integrity and the stability of the building as well. This is the picture which is trying to show where the fire is been spreading from the external facade of the buildings. Now, what we are having in this metro cities, the glass facades which are coming, we need to have more focus on this. So when we are trying to put the glass facades, we need to understand what should be the distance between one glass portion and the upper glass portion. So when you will see the A portion where I have written floor, it has to be at least 2.8 times the window height. Whatever the window height is there, it should be that much. And wherever the operable windows, that is openable windows are there, we should ensure that the distance between any floor and the bottom of the window on the upper floor, the height should of this window should be at least 3.8 times the window height which is given on the below floors. Because we have this glass facade which is not only linear, it is inclined also, declined position also. But the main focus what I need to bring to you is the distance between the glass facade and the building line where this particular arrow is given. If this is not properly sealed, the fire definitely going to have a leapfrog from one lower portion to the other. But before that, the hot gases will pass from this particular portion to the upper portion where the red arrow is shown. And for that, we need to have a proper fire sealant material that needs to be given between the facade of the building and the building line, so which will help and protect so that the smokes, whatever from the lower floors, it does not enter from any portion and it travels outside. Otherwise, it will be something scenario like this. Your fire is also spreading from this particular portion where there is a cavity shown over here. So I'll just conclude in nutshell that the fire prevention and protection focus is right now shifting from active to passive fire protection. The emphasis is to minimize the possibility of the outbreak of fire and to limit the spread of fire and the product of combustion. The implementation of will cost some initial investment for the owners, but in long term, this will be very useful tool for the fire protection, which will help to save precious lives and to safeguard national property. And like it says, fire prevention is always better than cure. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kiran sir. Your exhaustive presentation has very well illustrated and has shown and explained the passive fire systems, I think, very well. The illustrations were just to the point and they really displayed exactly what we are looking at. We next have Mr. Santosh Warik. He is the Chief Fire Officer and Fire Advisor, MIDC Fire Service, as well as the Director of Maharashtra Fire Service. He has over 30 years of experience in the field of fire prevention and protection. He has got expertise in firefighting of various occupancies, and he has been helping in implementation of fire prevention and life safety measures as per the National Building Code of India. He is a member on various committees of the Bureau of Indian Standards on Fire and Life Safety. Mr. Warik, please help us and talk about the regulatory challenges.
Good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for the opportunity for sharing the difficulties faced by the regulators, specifically related to passive fire protection. So as per the various fire laws available in India and as per the development control rules or building bylaws available with various state government and the cities across the nation, fire services gives the provisional fire approval at the initial stage at the time of building plan approval. The building plans are framed in such a way that maximum inputs as per the occupancy wise are prepared by the architects, and the execution starts, it takes minimum 2 years time when the building comes to existence. And at that time, the occupier, before occupancy of the building, the final fire approval is given by the local fire authorities. So as means rightly explained by Mr. Deshmukh, we means comply majority of the active fire protection systems, but passive only related to fire tower, fire doors, and compartmentation. These are the things what we see. Unfortunately, the glass facade and their spindles and everything is not tested because this work is pending. Again, when the builders or developer comes for the final fire approval, that time they say there are so many services we wanted to lay down because building is not occupied. We don't know the interior of the building, what will be the arrangements, cabins or discussion, or where will be the server room will be there, hub room will be there, canteen will be there. So all these things are pending, or architectural features, internal fire load is not specified at the time of granting final fire. So as a thumb rule for industrial activities or for the business activity or for the schools or for the office occupancies, we give approval based upon that conditional approval. Whenever the building will be occupied, whenever the plans are finalized, the fire authorities will approve that, and you have to execute the internal work accordingly so that the sprinklers detection system can be extended, the travel distance can be met, and the approvals, these conditional approvals are granted by the fire authorities. As far as the passive fire protection systems are concerned, the real complete building, when it is occupied, it takes another 2 to 3 years time. And here, the major issue of fire safety audit comes in play. So as recommended by the National Building Code Part 4, the periodical fire safety audit is very much essential, as at whatever the plans are prepared by the architect at the time of building plan approval and the actual execution, sometimes the occupancies get changed. Sometimes it is a mixed occupancies which was not anticipated at the initial of the building. It is a residential occupancy, but at ground level, there are nursing homes are coming up. So it becomes a very challenging thing to how to increase the width of the staircase, how to increase the width of the passages in the residential building where the 1.5 width or staircase width or passage width is required, wherein for the hospital buildings, it is minimum 2 meters requirement. So these are the practical issues. As we have the deficiencies of means nursing homes and hospitals in the country, and that is a glaring demand for high increase of the hospital activities. And unfortunately, there are so many nursing homes are available in all metro cities or mini metro cities. They are located in either in the business areas, business occupancies, or in the residential occupancies, wherein actual requirement of National Building Code related to passage of width and the staircases are not complied. Again, if it is a part of the residential building, if the building is less than 30 meters, then again a question of sprinklers. If the floor areas are more, still for residential, we don't insist sprinkler up to 45-meter building height. And if this hospital occupancies come up with the sprinkler systems, means we recommend them the sprinkler system, the separate tank, separate pumping for the small hospital having ground and first floor, it becomes very difficult and taxing for the doctors. So the Doctors Association comes with the representation. It is not practical for us to comply with this requirement. So these are the frictional areas between the change of activities and the compliances related to National Building Code. As far as passive things are concerned, it is very tough as a fire officer. Let me admit it with the forum that 100% checking of passive fire protection is not carried out by the fire authorities at the time of granting final fire approval. We take only the write-up from them, what they will do in case once the services are laid down, they will close all the duct, maybe plumbing, electrical, fire services, ducts, and the minimum requirements related to fire tower and the fire door for the staircases, that is checked. Compartmentation is a one part wherein the means segregation of risk point of view, 2 hours fire resistance compartmentation is checked by the fire department at the time of granting final fire approvals. But only solution, what I feel, is the fire audit and the third party consultant or the competent authority who can really check or carry out the detailed inspection after the 2 years of occupancies, when the occupancy is granted to that particular building and the building is entirely occupied within the 2 to 3 years time. After that, it should be really checked. And we should have that standard how to check the different types of the passive fire protection system, including fire door, including spandrels for the external facade, glass facade, and for the ducts. So all whatever the critical parameters are there, ventilation system or to remove the hot gases from the basement and all that. So all we should have the checklist, how to check it, how to maintain it, and how periodically testing should be done. So all these parameters, unfortunately, at present, it is missing and it is not been communicated to the civil engineers, architect, and to the fire professionals also. So we have to have bridge this gap to ensuring that the sustainability can be increased and the business continuity can be maintained for all types of occupancies. So that is my observation since last 3 decades, whatever working with the various types of occupancies. Thank you for the opportunity once again from the Fire Safe India Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Varik. That was a very good presentation. Particularly, you have been very honest in saying that 100% it's not done. There is a lacuna, particularly about installation and inspection. And the solution that you have mentioned, there should be a fire audit after occupancy of 2-3 years. I think that's the only way right now that we can really check whether the system is observed or not. Thanks, Varik sir.
Mr. Malu, before Mr. Abhishek comes in, pitches in, I have a request to the entire audience. If you have any specific questions, through the chat box, you kindly raise those questions, because what I've been observing is some questions are related to the warehousing, the sprinklers, and the other things. But today's webinar is specific to the passive fire protection. And if anyone has any question, kindly put through the chat box. Mr. Malu and Lakshmi will note those questions and we will take whatever best we could. The panel will be there till the questions are addressed to. And the second thing, Mr. Malu, that we are fortunate to have Mr. Arun Kumar also today. My apologies to him that we should have involved him from the very, very beginning. But today he is there, courtesy Sanjay Pant and courtesy Arun Kumar. So now since he is spearheading the whole game, I mean, before Mr. Chabra pitches in, I would like to maybe extempo, but maybe I would like to speak. I will request Arun Kumar to voice his views. Now he is the director of the BIS and heading the NBC 46 and many other areas. So can I request Mr. Arun Kumar to just voice his views, and then the consolidation part will be done by the Abhishek Chabra. Abhishek, if you don't mind.
Thank you very much, Shri Deshmukh sir, and to all the panelists, welcome, and more importantly to the panelists who are here with us for this joint event. And we are also, BIS is glad to do this program along with Passive India Foundation. Specifically on the fire barrier part, passive fire protection part, most of you are aware about the part 4 of NBC. In fact, numerous amount of lectures and YouTube videos are already present in the YouTube by various technical, engineers and others, covering the aspects of compartments, ducts and shafts, fire stops, fire walls, fire doors, fire dampers, and also regarding occupancy separation, and also to the extent of intumescent paints. And importantly, regarding fireproof cladding also, the BIS has made a standard called IS 17682, which talks about aluminum composite panels, in which there are 5 different grades, of which the grades 4 and 5 are more important because they have got the fire resistance rating. And those are applicable for the special buildings that have got 500 meters square on any one floor, or those ACP sheets should be used in high-rise buildings which are beyond 15 meters as per the NBC Part 4. And as regards the intumescent paints and coatings, after the last NBC, our chemical department has made a standard 17044 in the year 2018, which will be reflected in our next, that is the ongoing revision of NBC. And importantly, quite often people talk about glass, whether we can use glass, etc., as compartment separation, etc. So apart from the 2556 in PHD 10 standards, we also have a fire resistant glass specification standard, which is coming up. It is listing 8 different varieties of fire rated glass. So you can expect some of those varieties to be included in the next revision of NBC. And as I talk about NBC revision, I would like to just share 2 slides here. As you can, I believe this is on. Yeah, the code is under revision, and we are expecting the inputs from all the fraternity, the user groups, the professionals, and also the authorities, particularly based on the recent developments, what they are expecting, what they are facing. If there are any challenges, those can also be written to us. And if somebody would like to follow the happenings in not only part 4, but also in all the other 32 chapters, total of 33 chapters, they can visit this WhatsApp channel of BIS and do visit. And Mr. Pant has already indicated about what is that important change we are going to do. Particularly, there are queries already. I'm trying to answer them. We would like to bring in more clarity on the smoke management part. Already the clause number 3 of part 4 of NBC is addressing. We would like to add little more clarity on the smoke part, because smoke is the most major killer, and that can be avoided. Mr. Kiran Hatyal, the Assistant Director of Maharashtra, has Minister of Fire Service already explained about fire stops, etc. And Deshmukh Saab as well as Warik Saab mentioned about how the regulatory authorities are referring the part 4 of NBC, not only part 4 of NBC. We have 2 different committees on firefighting, namely CD22, and fire safety, namely CD36. These standards formulated under these committees after NBC and even before, everything should be used, and for which the authorities are expected to reflect in their acts or rules or regulations to refer to the latest Indian standards. And to enable the various authorities, BIS has also developed this particular special publication called SP73. It is helping the various urban local bodies to prepare their own building regulations. I will stop here for the time being, because I have already made my point that this is the right time for the various of participants, users, authorities, consultants, material manufacturers, everybody to write their inputs to BIS, because the work is on, the draft is under preparation, not only of part 4, but all the other chapters. Please do send us your thoughts. I'll be here to observe the deliberations and also take up your suggestions, and wherever possible, I can pitch in my limited idea. Thank you once again for the opportunity.
Mr. Malu.
Thank you, Arun Kumar Saab. It was
Mr.
very nice, particularly your showing
Mr.
about a WhatsApp and the official website, so
Thank
that
you.
people who have questions, at least they can get their questions queried.
Mr. Malu,
Yes,
I
I can
just
hear you.
wanted to make a small announcement here. There is always called as a blessing in disguise.
Yes,
So there is someone who's present on the whole forum, that is, though is in disguise form, but is a very, very important and veteran. person
I
in
know
our-
whom you're referring to.
Wait, Mr. Malu, wait. So it is, I'm talking about Mr. V. Suresh, and he is the chairman of the entire National Building Code, and he is a man with energy I have ever experienced with anyone. Not even with Mr. Modi ji. That is the kind of energy he possesses, and he always keep on driving the entire building code. He has a, I mean, he himself is the encyclopedia of the entire knowledge, and therefore, when he talks, we are just supposed to listen. So he is with us today, and I'm grateful to Mr. V. Suresh. And I mean, this is a surprise to me. I just saw the chat and I could see him here. Had I been aware of, I would have put him on the panel side rather than the off side. But good to have you, sir. You are listening to me, and if your reaction any, you can put it on the chat box or whatever, or the I mean the WhatsApp. Thank you, Mr. Malu. Sorry for the interruption.
No, not at all.
Invite our
It-
great
It's always a,
consultant. Yes.
it's always a pleasure having Mr. Suresh around. I now call upon Mr. Abhishek Chabra. He's the He has worked for 2 decades in the conformity assessment business. He is Director, Fire Stop Contractors International Association and National Fireproofing Contractors Association. He has been educating stakeholders and users like consultants, contractors, as well as regulators and accreditation bodies. He has served on advisory committees of standard development bodies. He has published papers, and he is a real guru in terms of talking about the installation and the inspection issues that face for passive fire systems. Please, Mr. Chabra, kindly take the floor.
Thank you very, very much. And I hope I'm audible enough. Really pleased to be here as part of this almost August gathering. It is amazing that we are all together, and Fire Safety Foundation of India has been able to actually get together people at so many levels. We have the National Building Code and some very senior and powerful people in the panel as well as in the audience. We also have Maharashtra as a large state who has been driving fire safety for decades, owing to the fact that they have had the privilege of having a lot of tall buildings and a lot of competence in the state. And I'll be honest, I'm very lucky to be part of this panel. I have also been very fortunate in my life to work for and energize various aspects which are leading up to this point in time when we talk about testing, inspection, certification, and conformity across so many industries. Part of standards development processes, not only in India, but also overseas in many places. So I'm very fortunate to have seen a very broad spectrum, and I'm glad that I will be able to contribute back to our country. And allow me to begin with just by taking a few steps back to give a big pat on our back as people of India, where for thousands of years ago, when we were an undisturbed country, when we had time to ourselves, we had the 2 oceans on one side, the mountain range on the other, and the Indus River, which defined our country as Hindustan. A lot of us were undisturbed. We studied and we came out with some very insightful and great pieces of work which are so powerful even today. Probably the world's first building codes were written in India over 3,000 years ago. Many of you may be familiar with some of these works. Probably Vastu Shastra is having a different meaning among certain people right now. But these are building codes, and I was happy to see some people in colleges who have researched the connection between the current construction practices as well as some of the older works. The original building codes of India were probably the only ones to even talk about the magnetic field of our country, of planet Earth, of how construction should be done. So I'm very proud that we come from a heritage where if we don't have any disturbance, if we keep all our mobile phones away and we focus on what we know and what we do, we can come out with something very, very fantastic and very, very magical. And we have been lucky as a country where experts like people in the panel, people in the audience have put to practice some of the ancient knowledges as well as some of the current knowledge as we continue to bring forth all of this together. So I would like to string together, as I have been tasked, all that has been discussed. Pant Saab, began with some very, very good beginnings to talk about our building code. And I'm glad that now, not only in India, but in many parts of the world, passive fire protection has been taking the main stage. Because passive fire protection is actually the first line of defense. Even before an active fire system can trigger, can start, you already have passive fire protection as a means that will contain the fire within the originating place. And there is possible solutions that are available to the whole industry to make sure that the fire does not initiate, does not spread, and even if it does initiate, it is contained within the area where the fire has begun. I want to put to perspective a little more about how the building codes interact with our daily lives. And a lot of people expect magic from BIS, and they expect that BIS as an entity is kind of producer of knowledge as well as a body that will police the use of knowledge. And I must say, just like we heard Pant Saab at the beginning, almost as the fountainhead, as a fatherly figure of knowledge, he had the code at the back of his hands. He was reciting each and everything. This is core knowledge. And we as users of the core knowledge have to create many other systems in order to realize and use this core knowledge which sits in the National Building Code as a guidance document. Arun Kumarji is here, who has been talking about hundreds of tools. And if we give him the floor, he can speak for 5 hours to explain hundreds of tools which BIS has created and is creating to take this knowledge from the National Building Code and use it in an everyday field. And all of us as users must understand this connection very, very well. And that's why I thought I'll take a few moments to explain about this connection. Almost as a religious book, if you look at any of the belief system, they give some guiding principles on what you should do. And you have other tools and methods how you put these things to practice. All building codes start with occupancy types. Pant Saab had this by heart. He was reciting it. I have to bring it on a screen to remember all of them. And these are what define the tendency and behavior of occupants and how the building needs to be prepared so that their fire and life safety can be realized. When there is a fire inside a mall, the people's behavior is different. They don't know the occupancy. When there is a fire inside a house, they know the occupancy. They are aware. When there is a fire in a hospital, there are a very different set of scenarios where people are immobile. And hence, the approach to designing fire and life safety stems from these different occupancies. And it is important for people who are creating this infrastructure, who have this knowledge. Where is the building placed? How far is it from the fire department? The local bylaws kick in. What is the structure? Where is the road? Do you have a road close by? And there are countless things that come into play that need to be designed specific to that building. There are times that the building code is able to give you an exact guideline of what you should do. But for most of the time, you have to come out with your own solutions. You can use standards to guide you, but it is important to know and understand what is containment, why is it being used, and how we use the guidance documents as building codes, standards, in order to ensure repeatability of whatever we are talking of, whether they are products, systems, workmanship. This is where the standards come into play. And of course, our most important issue is related to how this gets implemented. The National Building Code, who has the part 4, and I'm lucky that we will be all contributed to evolve this further, has countless definitions of various tools when we need to bring about passive fire protection. There is a lot of definition. There is a lot of standards. And I am not going to go into any of these details at this point of time. I think as an August gathering, we have to put our minds on how to use all the knowledge that we have and make sure what we are building right now, today, because every piece of infrastructure that everyone is putting money in today will last at least 100 years. Everything that is being put into place, all the thousands of crores of rupees, whether it is private money or public money, needs to build in and use all this knowledge that already exists. So I'm going to touch very briefly on what I would call about the last mile delivery of passive fire protection. I did a quick search and I found an article talking about how the cycle operates in Mumbai, in Maharashtra, and what are the steps that a builder needs to undertake. This could be wrong, but this is almost like an overview. And I found a section which is IODs, or intimation of disapproval. And it is under this section of IODs is that there were countless approvals that the developer needs to undertake. So many things, one of which has got to do with the approval from CFO. Warik Sahib is here, Kiran Hatyal is here, and they explained countless areas of friction, because there is a desire, there is an intention, and there is delivery. You need to finish the work very, very quickly. So Deshmukh Saab tasked me with the act that Abhishek bring together some of the international perspective, and let's have kind of a discussion to absorb how probably some of these things are implemented in the world. So I will not delve into how the building code in India is different from the building code in other parts of the world, or how standards are different in other parts of. it is a subject of massive debate. We all can agree fire is same everywhere in the world. Wherever there is fire, whether it is in Germany or Japan or New York, fire will behave the same. And a large part of material manufacturers, whether they are walls, doors, floors, carpets, they are making similar products. So let me show a very quick kind of a video. I have 2 slides of this video. This is how the approval process from the fire department in United States, one of the places in Georgia as a state, what they call for, they go on to define, these are the building codes that you have to follow. This is the format of the information that is needed to the fire department. We need drawings in a specific format. We need to define what is the occupancy type. So there is almost a guideline document which is issued by the equivalent of a fire department, who says, here is, and this is again a similar thing coming from UAE, where the building code itself has an annexure, and this is all public information. Everybody can see this. There is a guide which says we need this information to give you a plan approval. Submit a fire and life safety plan, and we will reject it summarily if all of this information is not available about the building. I totally understand Warwick Saab mentioned that at the time of some of the commercial buildings, a lot of information is unknown. We don't know who the occupant will be. We don't know who. But the National Building Code has a provision already in place. It calls for annual audits. It empowers the local bylaws of every state. It empowers people on how they can ensure that this gets implemented. You are a building owner, you are a hospital owner, you will do an audit as per the requirements. Make sure passive fire protection and fire safety are in place as needs to ensure things are covered as they are required. These are some of the standards that exist in the current version of the building code, and there are a few more. If Arun Kumar ji can expand this list, Suresh ji is here. We are working on expanding reaction to fire, resistance to fire, and so many other aspects, which hopefully we will all be able to encompass and add into. But I want to bring about a couple of things which we all need to put a very strong attention to. Good work has been done. We have the building code. We have the standards in place. We have the laboratories who are doing tests, not one, but so many. There are local labs. There are more local labs that are coming in place. There are so many international labs that people have been using. But what I call the last mile access. You have a test report, but what is going to the construction site? Is there a correlation? What was tested? How was it manufactured? Pant Saab is here, Arun Kumar ji is here. They have been very vocal about using certification as a tool to assess, because they are doing a factory audit. There are international companies who are doing these factory audits, but use this information, because if there is no requirement, everybody will find the easiest path. You do a test of a product and you supply whatever you want to supply. No one is checking. Who is checking? What is being manufactured? And then who is installing? There is an expertise that is required to install anything, even if it is plumbing, electrical work. How do you ensure? So I feel all of us need to put our minds to use existing tools that are available to assess conformity of products, assess conformity of systems, assess conformity of workmanship, who is installing. And while these tools are getting created in our country, we are all contributing to many of these tools. I feel we should be able to use the tools that already are available. There are countless standards. There is a big argument, should we use British standards? Should we use American standards? Which is better? I think that is a discussion that needs to be left to a project owner specific situation till local bylaws of that region become strict. We should work on that, and we are all working on that. But till that time, fire is the same. Use a standard that gives you the closest assurance for your projects. Use them, but make sure whatever standard is being used, make sure it is delivering what you are doing. When you seek a test report, the intention is assurance. Are you able to make sure what you are receiving on the construction site is the same as tested? Ask for certification. If certification is not possible, go for batch testing. You have few hundred doors, partition systems, thousands of boards being delivered. Put in a clause. Say we will pick up 2 of them and they have to be tested. If they don't match the test report, there is a commercial implication. It's very simple. The intent has to come from you. You need to make sure that you want fire safety in your buildings. You want to deliver fire safety. If you want to shy away, there are millions of ways to shy away. Make sure you ask for credentialed installers. Are the installers legitimate? Do they have any qualifications? There are so many methods to get these qualifications. I am glad to share, I now, after working for testing labs and certification bodies, I am behind 2 very nice, wonderful international associations who have been educating installers who are installing fire stopping, fire doors, structural fire protection applicators. We have been teaching them on how to do this right. We have been providing tools to get credentials, saying, yes, I have passed an exam, a written exam. I know these materials, how to install. And these can be used in India. I welcome people to become members of this association to grasp all of this knowledge. Attend almost so many free training sessions which we are giving. And you can receive all of this information. You can look me up. You can look up National Fireproofing and FCIA as it is there. But right now, it is important that the intent is driven. As I said, there are many tools which are available. You can look up these tools. These are accessible. I will not go into these details. I'm glad to share, I have initiated some of the standards. I welcome everybody. Arun Kumarji and Sanjay Panji are available. They are addressing these things. Let us create some of these new standards that help us use the building code. There is Standards Specification Institute who publish internationally a method to write technical specification. It is a quorum that is part of some international procedure. Let's create a similar guidance document to NBC. How can you, in a structured way, make sure that everybody, whatever type of occupancy it is, there is standardization in specifications for projects. Everyone wants to save money. It is a cost discussion at the site office. All of this is okay. And I can tell you from 25 years of my personal experience, when we have standardization, there is lots of saving of money, lots of saving. Costs go down because everybody will supply in a similar fashion. So I feel, and I welcome, just like Pant Saab had encouraged people to become members of BIS, contribute your time, your effort, your energy to make sure that we develop cohesive standards. That is all. Thank you very much. I'm ready to take some questions and happy to help answer some of these.
Thank you, Mr. Abhishek. Just to make a beginning and warm up the audience, I'll just take one or two questions which I have noted. One is Mr. Vinod Kumar Singh. He is asking, is there any regulatory requirement for the passive fire?
Passive protection.
Wait, Mr. Madhu.
Yes.
For passive fire protection. The answer to that, Mr. Vinodji, is the fire services, though it is a state subject, and the fire services, most of the fire services where they have enacted the legislation, they have given reference of the NBC and the Part 4. They emphasized on that. So if they emphasize that, it stands as a regulatory or the mandatory requirement. The second question that you have asked is there's a comment actually. Confirmation about the mandatory requirement of the FRD doors for the electrical ducts. I would slightly correct here, not only for the electrical duct, but any building which is having the ducts and services are getting exposed to the passages and the internal part of the building, the duct has to have a mandatory fire door, not only for the electrical ducts. There are gas pipelines, there are water pipelines, but as long as the duct is opening into the internal part of the building, where there is a possibility of the exposure of the fire or the smoke to the higher floors or the lower floors, it is a mandatory requirement. So this is a comment that which I am trying to address. There is one Mr. Krishnakant, he is asking, can we increase the fire partition wall that is generally considered a 3 by 3 meter while putting into the furnace for the test? So this answer, it will depend on the facility. If any facility, testing facility, if they have this facility of taking of a better height, but whatever the test facilities which I have seen, including our CBRR Roorkee or maybe the international, some facility in Manchester. So these this thing, your Building Research Institute in London. So they sample test is always done. It is not the full test is possible. But if the lab has a facility, it can be done. So these are two questions I am trying to rather address. So if there are more questions, Mr. Malu, you just highlight those questions.
Yes.
And, yes.
There is one question from Mr.
One more minute,
Swapnil
Mr.
Chavan, which
One
I
more
think Chapras.
Mr. Malu, one more minute. Sorry for the interruption. Things are coming extempo also. See, there somebody has asked whether we should take the BIS course or any international course. My reaction to that Mr. Arun Kumar and Sanjay Pant sir is the authority. But see, any matter goes, it has to be the part of the land of the law of the land. And if any matter which is being dealt or deliberated in the legal forums of the different forums of the India, naturally the emphasis will be to our own standards. And therefore we should give emphasis on the BIS as a preliminary. If you find after complying the preliminary requirements, whatever prescribed into our standards, and over and above, if you can do something better by referring to the international standards, then of course, anybody will welcome you that as long as you're complying the local standards. And third thing is, these all international standards and products, I have a habit of giving some controversial statements, but take it in a positive spirit. See, the India is being looked after as a market by the entire globe. And market and other side, we are talking about the Make in India program. So we must see that the products are complied with our standards and certifications published by the Bureau of Indian Standard from time to time. And something which is not available as per our standard, you should bring it to the notice of the BIS, and BIS will definitely put their maximum efforts to see that if there's no standard, they are always open to have the standards. in the interim time, if you are, I mean, going for the some international standard, that I keep open from my side. So there are three. Sorry, Mr. Malu, any questions, please, you can read out.
No, there was one specific question which Swapnil Chavan has put. He says, can we have checklists for installation and maintaining passive fire protection systems which can be used by everyone from contractors to suppliers and NOC issuing authority? But I think Chabra Saab has very nicely mentioned it. Sir, I leave it to you.
Let me address that, sir. Thank you for bringing that out, and I'll also try and address some of the things that Deshmukh sir was mentioning. I have not read all the questions, but like you said, what training should we undertake? And very rightly, Deshmukh sir said that we have to follow the law of the land. But we also must keep in mind that the rate at which knowledge and information is proliferating from all directions, exactly in the same way, anybody who seeks knowledge should not stop at the source, whether it is available from Nagpur or Timbuktu. Wherever you are able to get your hands on knowledge which is evolved, because types of products, types of technologies which we are using in our country, like Deshmukh Saab said, we are a market for the world. We are the highest population in the world. There are businesses inside India and outside India who look at us as consumers. We must have our guards up completely to make sure, are we smarter than the seller or not? We have to be. Buyer beware. That is very important. And hence, any knowledge source available, local, regional, international, to make you aware should be picked up very, very quickly. The law of the land will always be logical, and that is very important to know. So to address specific question, Balu Saab, that is there any training or a checklist? The associations that I am representing, they are doing an excellent job in providing a manual of practice, which has been started by the Firestop Contractors International Association, which creates a very good base, which is standard neutral, which is code neutral. It teaches an approach, which is a quality system-based approach, saying design products, install products, inspect products, maintain products, all passive fire protection. How to do all of this? The knowledge is being shared. You are welcome to go to the website fcia.org. You can write to me. A lot of resources are actually free. Once you go through these training programs, you can create a very simple checklist, or you could get credentialed and offer these services formally as well. But the knowledge is out there. I will be happy to share more. Please feel free to reach out to me, and I can tell more where is the checklist, because it is all out there.
There is one question from
Maluji,
not for Chabra Saab. Sorry.
Maluji, with your permission, Mr. Deshmukh's permission,
Please,
can
please.
I add something? See why we are working so hard. We are trying to create standards which are needed for the country. There may be standards which we might not have deliberately created, modified. So who would decide which is the best standard? So therefore, National Building Code has dovetailed the information available in the standards and given a cogent provisions on National Building Code Part 4, drawing from various standards and even beyond standards, and we have created a system. We have not only created this National Building Code and we are periodically revising it, we have the support of the parallel standards, Indian standards, which are part and parcel of NBC and cross-referred in the NBC. NBC says that this is a continuous process. May please follow the latest standards. These are subject to revision. So NBC also says that And then there are these standards. Some of the product standards are amenable to certification. So certified products, whether it is for fixed firefighting installation or first aid firefighting equipment or for construction materials, all these are available with BIS certification. So even that facility is available. You need not test yourself. And each of these materials, these are already tested, verified, and certified also. The National Building Code also says that for materials and technologies for which standards are not available, the concerned authority can approve additional materials and technologies also in their wisdom. And once these standards are developed, then they can then revert to the standards. And there are institutions like Ministry of Housing Urban Affairs, organization, the Building Materials and Technology Promotion Council, that is BMTPC, which runs a PAX, Performance Appraisal Certification Scheme, for materials and technology for which Indian standards are not available. So that is another option that can be utilized. Second thing is that should we have checklists, softwares, design aids? Once we have formulated NBC as a special publication, the institutions like Fire Safe India Foundation and other such institutions who are working, who are strong technocrat based, they should create uh, the necessary tools, because again they are the same technical people who are also representing BIS company. So let BIS keep on producing, revising, amending, updating standards and National Building Code. These supporting tools can be created. For example, I will say BIS has created the design code IS 456, the concrete design code. But in the market, there are very good softwares are available, which, if used, will ensure compliance to IS 456. So there is no harm the multiple bodies producing such design aids, softwares, expert systems, explanatory publications, and these institutions. One of the jobs of such professional institutions should be to publish such special publications and design aids and commentary, which should be at the service of the professionals so they can use and utilize it. Another thing I would like to mention is on training. BIS has its own training institute at Noida, and very regularly we are doing training on various parts and chapters of NBC continuously. But this is insufficient. Others should continue to do the training work they are doing, create videos, paid or whatever way, and these should support the system. One must earn out of knowledge base that they have, and support the creation of more knowledge. And if it is good, it will attract people and professionals to get trained from them. The last point I would like to mention today, and I have been telling this thing, the country badly needs a national fire research institution. All the work being done is to the limited scale. Some research is being done at CBRI Roorkee, some at IIT Gandhinagar, some in some of the institutions and labs, as Mr. Abhishek has also mentioned, and the original work is being done in their labs. But beyond that, there is no comprehensive national fire research institution. So this August body, I would once again request Mr. Deshmukh also, uh, whether it is by CSIR or the line ministry, Ministry of Home Affairs, one national fire research institution must be created. The knowledge which is coming for development of standards or otherwise in the country for quality control purposes. In case of cement and concrete, is National Council for Cement and Building Materials. There is Central Building Research Institute for buildings and function requirements of building. For plywood, it is Indian Plywood Research Institute. It is Forest Research Institute. In the field of fire, we still do not have a national level comprehensive dedicated institution for fire research. So this could be one of the recommendation of this webinar also, that we must have at the earliest a national fire research institution. Full scale testing research should be done and this kind of comprehensive work if India badly needs, then we would not be looking for towards NFP or other courts. As we say international, we will have all international experimentation. done in the country itself, and we should have our own database, strong database to support our standards. Thank you so much.
Deshmukh sir,
Yeah.
there's one interesting question from Mr. Naveen Kumar. He says NBC 2016 requirement for service ducts and shafts calls for fire stop closure for wall and flow. So if you are doing fire flow closure in the shaft, why do we need to provide fire rated doors and walls for the shaft?
No, I didn't get his question. The
He
closure.
says if you are
Yeah.
doing flow closure in the shaft, then why do we need to provide fire rated door and wall for the shaft?
See, the fire closure at the shaft is done. I mean, the shaft is not exposed to the floor. Is a different scenario. The shaft or the ducts are going from outside and they are not affecting the building, or there is no exposure to the internal part of the building. Is a one part. Second, where there is a services required, you need to maintain the services inside the shaft. Thereby, you require the access to the that duct, and thereby you require the the fire door. And that door with not the door, just door, the metal door, but the complete assembly, so that and that has to be maintained and is to be timely closed and open. It should not be kept open. Many buildings where I go, they have that kind of arrangement, but those doors are just kept open. They say timely we don't get the key of that door, timely there's a problem, so they keep it open. So there's a timing, I can say so much, but anyway, I will, you want more details, I can provide those. Yes, please. Mr. Malu, any other question?
Yes, no, I don't think there are any other questions because the questions are about sprinkler systems and whether they're, yeah, so those are not relevant to our topic today.
I saw those. Today we will take only related to the passive fire protection. If you have any queries, though that's been to the specific 2 occupancies today, but even the other occupancies, you all are welcome. But now, due to the time paucity, I will just do my formal responsibility. That is the proposing the vote of thanks. At the outset, before I extend my thanks to the panelists, I give the big thank you to the all participants, without which the effort of the object of this program could not have been successful. Kiran Hatyal, thank you for your exhaustive presentation. Mr. Warik, thanks to you, though you are not listening, but our thanks letter will reach to you. Mr. Arun Kumar, thank you so much. And I really appreciate that without any formal invitation and all, you have joined. That shows the spirit of the man, you know, and we require such people. Sanjay Pant, I have very few words. I mean, I have very few words to say now, but there is a complete, I mean, the maybe 4 or 5 pages document in my mind registered about your contribution. I observed you very closely. So, Pansab, we assure you the 2 things. One, as I don't want to go to the public and say the importance of this day today, but we will define our key performance indicator till the next auspicious day of your life. And we will come to you with 3-4 KRAs, doable KRAs, achievable KRAs of the Fire Safe India Foundation, and we'll revert to you and we'll mention. I mean, the one thing I had at the back of my mind was the fire forensic. Any time we read the newspaper after the fire incident, we say is due to the electrical short circuit, which I personally, I don't believe. Just to satisfy the hue and cry in the media, sometimes we have to say something, but there is no proper fire forensic. There is no cause investigation of the cause of fire. But and the second point that also is on our agenda, that how to go for a research institute as you proposed. So we'll come to you, sir, and we'll take your solicit your guidance, and we will move the papers to the government as well as some private bodies like IIT Gandhinagar is trying to do something. Maybe in association with them, something can happen to begin with a baby step. But as you said, comprehensive national research laboratory for testing the fire materials and the fire equipments, satisfying the requirements of all the chapters of the code, not only fire. The last but a least, the man of the day who has joined from Dubai to us is Mr. Abhishek. Abhishek is very passionate about the passive fire protection. whenever I talk to him, it all comes from the core of his heart and not from the lips of his mouth. So Abhishek, thank you so much. We also talk to him in the morning. What kind of association that we can have even with the international bodies? Because Fire Safe India Foundation is a not-for-profit organization. There are no restrictions. And some of the ISO standards which we see, they are also quite comprehensive, and we miss on deliberating on that. Our focus is only limited to the NBC, other standards, but some places where you need to refer to the ISO standards also, and they are acceptable to the Indian government. So with this, I think we'll call for the day. Thank you to Mr. Malu. Thank you to Mr. Lakshmi. Thank you, Blue and Grey, as our media management company, for their contribution. And last but not least, again, special thanks to Mr. V. Suresh. Sir, we always listen to you, but today we compel you to listen to us. Sorry for that, but you are passively available and you are taking interest. He's a senior most veteran in this fraternity, and he takes so much interest. Many youngsters have no time, but man at this age and the level, I'm sorry for referring to the age because I personally don't like anybody talking about the age. So thank you, Suresh sir, also. And thanks everyone. Again, the participants. Let us make more programs like this, some physically and some virtually. Thank you, Mr. Arun Kumar and Pant sir again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Deshmukh
Thank
sir,
you.
thank you very much.